Sometimes you swindle and sometimes you get got. Episode 3 of Spice and Wolf. Honestly, this is the episode. This is the episode to tell whether you're going to enjoy this series or you're going to hate this series. Because from my own personal experience, and I heard some other people echo this, the third episode is really the point in which the currency stuff start happening and everything. And when the first time I watched the first adaptation, this was the episode I dropped the series. I was like, I can't stand it. This is too much currency talk. It's so like, I don't care. I'm so bored. But then I watched the second time, and I understood at that point. That's literally what makes this show what it is. And yeah, I really did enjoy this time around as well because, gosh, it's just, again, kind of emphasizing so much stuff about how Holo and Kraft Lawrence sort of think and how they can kind of support each other. Because I think in the end of the day, what it's really about is that Holo, yes, has been kind of secluded to this little village for a long time. But at the same time, Lawrence has been so engulfed in the trade and everything. And so using their own knowledge, they sort of support each other. Yeah, like Holo essentially hearing over this idea about doing this trade for this apple on the furs and how you can trick the buyer. That stuff is kind of that information that she can give to him. Additionally, yes, like later on with the whole situation with Zarin, it's really Kraft realizing that he lost, but at the same time, having Holo kind of push him a little bit to the point where he finally realizes, oh, opportunity. I get it now. Because that's really what it was. When Kraft first came into this situation with this trade with Zarin, or this opportunity, it was really this idea of, I'm going to follow along with it as if I trust it, because there's no loss there. But the important thing is to keep watching until you see what they're actually after. Again, it's not about the lie. It's about the intent of the lie. What's the reason for the lie? And I think he's pretty much finally figured that out. I do like the fact that it's been so long since I watched the first season, or the first adaptation. I keep wanting to say that. And reading the light novel that I don't really remember what Kraft comes up with. My assumption is that I think he would go to the actual trading company. Because right now, as they kind of mentioned this episode, they're talking about this big movement of goods at the current time. And so they're obviously moving a lot of product. And also with this concept of this other coin essentially rising up and competing with the current trading, yes, there's going to be the possibility there that somebody can pretty much force the market to push a lot, or at least gather a lot of coins here and move a lot of product, and then you can capitalize on that. And I think that's what he'll end up doing with the trading company, is going there and maybe informing them that something's going on. That way the only way that they can profit, the only way that a trading company would profit from this information if Lawrence does bring that information to them, is that they can essentially buy up goods. Because if they're sitting on too much currency, that's when the company will lose. So if Lawrence can tell them, one point is going to be a big massive question mark, is where you get this information and how do you know about. I don't know that he'd want to tell them about the currency itself decreasing in purity, because that's questioning the currency itself. That could be a big deal. But additionally, he is able to tell them at least that the currency might be in trouble. So buy up goods. That way, once the news comes out about the currencies and everything shifts, they can then sell the goods for a higher value coin. So again, it is kind of really cool, because what they're sort of figuring out, or at least what Lawrence has figured out through Holo's kind of prodding him, is that, yeah, somebody could be manipulating Zarin. He could be the one that's not necessarily profiting from this. It could be somebody else, and somebody is pushing him. So he's not the mastermind, basically. So that stuff's really cool. But yeah, let's dive into this episode, opening it up with them arriving at Pazio. I do like this little brief moment of once again expressing how much Holo seems to be upset at the idea that people have forgotten her. Even though she does put on this kind of brave face and everything, it sort of does bother her that people don't know who she is. They do have like these tales about people, whoever's seen her. They tell tales about the fact that she's this beautiful girl in her mid-teens with a fluffy big brown tail with a white tip on it. And him like pointing out that, no, it's actually better that nobody recognizes you. But at the same time, you do see that she has that discomfort there. Like, she is a little upset about this idea of being forgotten. And again, I think that kind of goes into the idea that she's been there for so long, helping them with their harvest for so long, and yet the future generations have completely pushed her away. Which you can kind of see that being sort of a sad thing, a sad reality to the whole situation. But yeah, them going in there, I do remember this was like one of my first points where despite the fact the third episode is where it kind of loses me with my first watch of this, the first part of this was one that I remember. I do remember this is very a very much so an iconic moment in the series early on is that moment that Holo is like buying up all these apples and she's enjoying them. And at that point they get the actual trading place. And suddenly, oh crap. Yeah, sure. We'll take that much money. And then she goes, man, you shouldn't be bullying this guy so much. She like speaks up so loudly like, oh, is that all we're getting for those furs? This guy's, we got to watch out for this guy. This guy knows exactly what he's seeing, and he's trying to swindle us, basically. No, it doesn't she say that he's swindling. It's just strictly an idea. This guy has seen it, obviously, and he's trying to pull one up from us, so we got to be careful. So only 140? That doesn't make any sense. Wait, here. Here. Smell it. I love that. And it is funny because it all kind of plays out to what she's sort of, yes, apparently this experience that she had before with somebody doing this trick. Somebody having put fruits of some kind onto furs to make it smell like something different. Basically implying this idea that these wolves in the forest, they were eating good. The forest itself was bountiful, which I think they discussed that at some point. There was a bountiful harvest or something like that with the forest, something like that. Anyways, these wolves are coming in there and they're getting all these fruits, and it's filling their bellies, and it's making their fur stronger and more healthier. And yeah, the fur itself smells good. But it's like all these things that she's putting together based on her, sleeping in the furs and enjoying their time in the fur, and then yes, putting all these fruits on it. So she's been cooking this for a while. It's great. Now, it doesn't really imply that she's been thinking about this idea way back there, but it was kind of a circumstance of the fact that she really wanted to eat the apples, and then they were sitting there, and so she's like, well, actually, this has worked before. So let me go ahead and settle on this idea. I do like they had that whole time where she's kind of watching Lawrence. It keeps cutting to her, and she's constantly watching, and she's watching this whole transaction. She's seeing how the merchants themselves work. And then it gets to that point where he does a sale, and she's like, is that like enough? Like, is that a good amount? He's like, yeah, it's decent. It's pretty decent. Okay, let's knock it up a little bit. It's not crazy, so she obviously implies, okay, well, I can get more if it's not an insane amount. I think that if he said, yeah, that's a lot of money, that's way more than I should probably get, she probably would have dropped at that point. But knowing that, there's a buffer there. We can work with this. Yeah, let me show him that I'm worth traveling with him, and that everything he's bought for me so far is worth it. And then I can kind of rub it in his face. But no, that was great. I love that whole segment, and her like basically selling it to the guy. Yeah, it's really good. It can ward off moisture. They've been eating healthy. They're strong. Try to pull it and all that kind of stuff just to get that extra 200. No, up to 200, and then make it 210. I love it. It was great. Or then we could sell it to somebody else. It was a fun little scene. And then he has the celebration afterwards and her rubbing it in his face. Rubbing his face like, oh, did that hurt your pride as a merchant? I love the teasing. Again, that's kind of one of those things that I've always loved about their relationship is that teasing aspect of her. You're just a young pup. Don't worry. Don't feel too bad. You'll figure it out kind of thing. It was great. And then yes, him figuring out that it was all a lie. That it was all a lie. Oh, the apples. I didn't realize it. I touched them, but I didn't smell it. Oh, it was the apples that I bought. Oh, so you tricked them? But this is a cool little message here because she is true here. This is a correct thing. You can tell the maturity and the professionalism of somebody in a trade like that in how they actually handle being tricked. Yes, there's the person that's going to freak out. They're going to be really upset, and they're going to get really angry about the whole situation. They're probably going to hunt down the person that did it. But then there's those that are more professional and experienced. They'll see something like that and go, they got me. Good on them. They got me. Now next time, I'll know. He now knows this trick, and thus he can use that in the future. He can use it himself to sell to somebody else, but additionally, he'll know when it comes across his table because now he's aware of it. And truth be told, Lawrence is a small-time merchant. He's been working for 7 years, but he's a small-time merchant compared to a lot of people that are probably coming to that trade shop. So if they get swindled for a mere 210 silver, it's much better that he learns that lesson now rather than later he does like 1,000 silver trade and he loses a crap ton of money. So again, it's all in perspective. It's all in professionalism, and it's all in maturity of a trader. I think it's really a fantastic movie. Like when she points out to Kraft, he completely understands, yeah, that technically is true. But yeah, that's when we get into the whole thing with Zarin, which I'm pretty curious. I don't remember at all how this kind of concludes, but at the same time, I think it was something that went on for a little bit. But I do like this whole segment because it is kind of, again, going into, is Zarin lying? Is this information correct? Yes, he does point out, okay, it's information from a mining town that he used to live in. the whole idea here is that you're going to give me 10 Trini for the information, and then I get 10% profits after that. And they sign a contract to that. It's supposed to happen sometime at the end of this year. So at some point, the amount of silver in this coin is going to go down. And so basically, use that to your advantage. Whatever you make from it, I make part of that. But up front, 10 Trini. Which is funny because later on, when they actually do the deal and everything, at that point, Kraft Lawrence is like, it doesn't make any sense to me. This is a very trusted coin. If it goes down in value, that's going to be a big deal. He even goes to check to see if it's going to be, if the current coin has been dropping, because they'll gradually drop it. Holo figures out that, yes, they've been doing that. So how's the value going to go up? Currently, right now, Holo has figured out by ringing it in her ears that it's going down. So, and Zarin's information is that it's going to go up. So it's completely opposite. He's been swindled. But why would he do that over 10 Trini? Yes, he's supposed to give it back. But why would you even bother doing that over that measly amount? And yes, additionally, set up this whole thing when there's going to be no profits to it. And again, that's when he's going to figure out eventually that, oh yeah, something else is happening. Again, this is like where it lost me, because of course we go to the currency guy. He's hitting on Holo the entire time. He lays it out, says there's been no changes. Everybody knows this coin because it's such a well-trusted coin. The amount that apparently has been going down is so small that nobody noticed it. But again, Holo notices it because she can hear it. She can hear that it's getting more Holo. It's getting Holo. It's getting more dull. There, dull, and that is a sign that the silver is going down. But I liked all the additional information on the idea that yes, this is a trusted coin. There's hundreds of currencies because there's so many different, areas. There's so many times they're going to reprint this stuff. So many different mints and whatnot. The church is going to be minting stuff and all that kind of stuff. It gets into all that stuff, and additionally, that there is another currency out there that is rivaling the Trini. And I think that's going to be, again, I don't remember any of this information about this particular deal. I think that's probably going to be the big deal right there, is that there is another currency that's rivaling it, because if that one gets too big, this one goes down. And then when this currency is being used so much in your kingdom, and your currency is not being used, again, like I mentioned, it's pretty much like they lost a war, because the economic structure of that entire area is going to decline because nobody's using their coin anymore. So again, I think that might be it. I don't know if the trading company that Lawrence is going to now, if that expedition they're doing is to where that coin came from. I forget. Let me double check. No, it's a filling coin. And the place that they were doing a trade to is Rivenhagen. So I don't know. It could be a currency they use there, but it's a different name at least. I don't know if that's the same idea there, but again, I think there's so much emphasis on how much trade is going on right now with that trading company to that location to the north. And then over here, you have this discussion about this coin that's rivaling the Trini. And then, yes, additionally with that idea, the Trini itself is going down in value. But again, this is the stuff that I love. I love the fact that, despite the fact that the first time I watched this stuff bugged me. This idea of getting into how many coins there are, having Holo have to pick out which one is the fake coins and which coin goes to each location. He literally spreads it on the table, and there's so many freaking coins. And he's like, don't worry about it. You'll learn over time as you use the coin. But at the same time, she's trying to learn so bad. I love that whole little scene. She's trying to point him out, and he's like, no, don't worry. Okay, I'll go through all of them. He's going through each of them, and she just falls over like, I don't care anymore, whatever. She just gives up at some point. It was a cute little thing because, again, it does emphasize how much these merchants have to keep track of. Not only keep track of all these currencies, keep track of what the currency is valued at, and additionally, if the coin itself is even real. So there's 3 major aspects that every merchant has to keep track of. And I think that's probably why, and partly because of the value difference, the exchange between the different currencies. That's pretty much why Kraft was talking about with the last episode, that this is something they do is trade for goods. So if you have a whole bunch of wheat, you trade it for furs or something like that. You don't trade it for currencies, because sometimes they'll present you with a currency that you might not recognize, or you might not know the worth of it, or in the situation that the purity of it is going down and nobody knows about it, and then you're going to end up losing a bunch of money because people find out the purity of it went down. So it's really cool stuff. It's just this is, again, one of those things that kind of really fascinated about the writer here. Is it's not just the chemistry between Holo and Lawrence, which is great, because again, it is all about how the two of them support each other. What Holo brings to the table, and what Kraft brings to the table and how they can sort of enhance each other. And I think Holo is a lot about experience. It's a lot about feeling things out, understanding people, and hearing things. And then on the other side, it's Lawrence is his experience with people, especially people, and his experience in the kingdoms and the currencies and the trade itself. Not that Lawrence knows everything, because he's still, I mean, 7 years is a long time, but 7 years isn't a lifetime. He's not a wise old man. But at the same time, he has experience, but Holo has experience too. And they kind of support each other with that. I did like when they first showed up at the town and Lawrence is trying to explain this whole like deal that he missed out on about these fruits and these apples and whatnot. And Holo the entire time is trying to listen. He's like, oh yeah, huh? Yeah, sure. I got you. She's so busy thinking about what she wants to eat. A couple little scenes that I also enjoy was, yes, the whole thing with Wise and him hitting on Holo, and the entire time Kraft is just trying to butt in and getting jealous. She totally sees it. I love that whole following scene after that where she's literally like didn't tell Wise about what she heard because she wanted to give that information to Kraft, Lawrence, as a thank you. And that thank you is because he got so jealous. She's like, men are so dumb idiots because they have this thing of jealousy. And women love when men have this idiotic thing called jealousy. So that makes them idiots. So it's just a world full of idiots. He's there bumping into him. The teasing is just so fantastic. And yes, technically later on with the whole thing about her ears and not hearing Zarin's lie. Now, again, and it was kind of odd that wasn't brought up at that point. At that point where Lawrence kind of figures out, look, I've been swindled. If the coin is dropping in value, then they're not going to make a profit. At some point, she kind of mentions the idea of, are you upset because that my ears are wrong? She says they're not always right. And she mentioned that before. She told Lawrence before, they're not perfect. Yes, I can hear a lie, but it's not perfect. But additionally, she also specifically said, sometimes it's just that I don't catch what is a lie. And that was the whole key thing there, was that Zarin was telling him all this information about the currency going down and everything, but what part of it was the lie? And what was the intent of the lie? So it's kind of odd that was even brought up, and he doesn't like shoot back and say, well, you did tell me that it doesn't really catch what part of it is a lie. So it's not as if they failed, I guess it is the best way to put it. It's not as if they failed, but it was still cute that she's like, do you think I was going to be upset? I may become upset if you change your opinion of me. It was getting a little funny little moment there. Anyways, I'll be curious where it goes from here. Like I said, I completely don't remember what they ended up doing, and that's part of the whole thing that I love about this, and I'm kind of glad that I've forgotten what the actual result is, because my mind already right now is trying to figure out what would that be. And again, my suspicion will be that he goes to the trading company, which again is doing these massive trades right now, and informing them of the value going down, or at least the purity of the coin going down, and telling them to essentially buy up goods so that it benefits them, and then he can get a portion of that. Okay, buy up goods, and whatever you buy, if you do buy up goods, give me a portion of whatever you gain from that, and then we'll cut a deal right there. He's pretty much doing the same thing with them, the trading company, that he agreed to do with Zarin. And it makes you wonder, okay, so if they end up profiting from it, contractually, does he have to give part of that profit to Zarin? Because again, Zarin's not, what they're suspecting is not the one that has created this lie, but he knows he's probably being used by somebody that has a way of making money off of it. And I think that's probably from them trying to push people to sell goods, and then they can make profit from buying those goods or whatever. The reverse effect, basically. But again, that's what I love about the series, trying to figure out what exactly Lawrence figures out what to do. I kind of like the episode ends right here, so you can start to speculate on that. But anyways, great episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you all aren't like me way back in the day when I first watched this first adaptation of the third episode and completely fell off of the show. Hopefully you guys stick around, but let me know. Let me know in the comments down below if this ended up working for you or ended up falling off. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, let me know if you love the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button so you get my content. I do news reviews, first impressions, top list if it's anime, it's premature. Additionally, if you like this content, you want to support the channel more, I have Patreon link, tips, links, so thanks, membership button down below. Really appreciate it if it does. Y'all take care.